Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision presents Elements of Horror. My name is Sean.
And I'm John.
And this is kind of usually we do a rotation for Elements of Horror. This is kind of outside of that rotation because this movie is not a traditional horror movie that we're going to talk about. And I'm sure some people would be like, fuck you. But I didn't want to brand it as this is not fucking horror like we did with the Christopher Nolan movie comparison because this, I think this is definitely a new strain of horror. I don't know if you'd call it 2020 horror. I don't know if you'd call it pandemic horror. I don't know if you'd call it look what we've become horror. Actually, that might be it.
All of the above, maybe?
Yeah. So this, dear listeners, is our discussion. It'll be full spoiler of Ari Aster's new film Eddington. John, you saw this 5 days ago?
Yeah, about. I saw this. I was at a conference and I saw this at a theater in a small town outside of Houston.
Oh, that might have been surreal,
Yeah, it
actually.
it it kind of lent itself to the experience, really. But here's the thing. That same conference that I was at, uh, it was it was the conference that I was at in 2021 online when we did that Messiah of Evil
Okay.
episode. And a few years before that, pre-pandemic, it was in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which in the film they allude to the fact that it's not that far away
Right.
from Las Cruces. So, I've been up and around where this takes place, and the main through line is like this one conference I go to almost every summer. So, it just felt very appropriate to be seeing this film.
That's very interesting. The universe is funny when it works like that. So I'm not entirely sure how to approach talking about this. So again, it will be full spoiler. Although I would have to say, I, this movie is all about like you have to experience it. I suggest seeing it in the theater. I don't know how much longer it's going to be there. We're recording this on Monday, July 28th. I just came from my second theatrical viewing, and I don't know that this can be spoiled. So even if you don't kind of care and you listen to us talk about it and you're interested, still you could still go see it because it's just oh my God. It's John, talk to me about seeing Eddington. Initial
Well,
thoughts,
well,
anything, reactions.
well, here's the thing. I mean, I've kind of gotten to the point right now where I just completely and flat out in my mind reject anyone who says like, "Oh, this film polarizes people. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it." Because for the last 5 years, whenever people have said that, neither of which have been the case. And the same is true with Eddington.
Okay.
I didn't love it,
Okay.
but there was a lot of it that I really liked. And uh and there was a lot of stuff that I found very interesting, like almost more interesting than any of Ari Aster's other films. And I think I would start with the character of Joe, played by Joaquin Phoenix, our central character here, small town sheriff. Um, and before the mics heated up, we talked about, how he's like one of the most three-dimensional characters of the year that we've encountered. And I agree with that. And upon reflection, this is a film that it's not a it's not a left-wing diatribe. It's not a center-right anti-cancel culture film. It is a film about people who have no autonomy over anything that they do, except for Joe, and he's a fucking dipshit. And and that's the weird dramatic irony is that you have people who are essentially a slave to their phone. They do whatever social media influencers tell them they need to do, and aspire to a particular standard. They um, follow the latest political trends. They are beholden to tech corporations. They follow cult leaders. They are a slave to all sorts of other things. PTSD and childhood trauma impacts what they do in the present. Just everyone except for Joe, who's just a total fucking loser.
Yeah. Yeah, he's such an interesting character because I mean, so first of all, there's so many things in this movie that I mean, it is just a magnifying glass held up to 2020 and just American society. And when I say that, I'm including myself. Like
Yeah.
there's it's not singling anything out. It's not saying these people were right, these people were stupid. It's just like that poster with the buffalo just charging off the fucking cliff is exactly the right image for this movie.
Yes, it is.
And
Very much.
Joe is so interesting because he is so meek. He's like bumbling and off-putting and meek at home. He can't control his own house. You know, his mother-in-law lives with him. He thought, I thought it was only going to be for a little while. And she's been there for I forget how long now, and he's got to listen to her conspiracy rants. She's listening to all this stuff about, gematria and how the number 56 is tied into all these elements of the pandemic. And he he it forces him being that meek at home forces him it doesn't force him but it causes him to act bold. The opening scene, like he's acting bold to these two reservation police that are like, put your mask on. And also just that's even he's being an ass, but even that's ridiculous. Like he's in his car by himself. Why should he put
Yeah.
his fucking mask on? Like,
Yeah. He hates the mask mandate, not because he's MAGA or because he's a conspiracy theorist, or he wants to stick it to the liberals or anything like that. He just genuinely doesn't want to be pushed around, and Ari Aster doesn't overthink it too much with him. And that's the thing. It's like, and in everything else, just because he just sort of holds up this weird mirror to everyone else. And it just becomes, and then of course, what happens to him? He eventually does lose his autonomy, and just he's literally pushed around everywhere. He's a vegetable by the end.
like, and that's like such a fitting. There's so many jokes in this movie, and a lot of them are like really long setups. And like the one is like, I love the payoff at the end where he's literally an invalid stuck with the person that he wants to be around the least, his mother-in-law. His wife has now left him. He's a vegetable. And he's not a vegetable exactly, but he can't move. He's in a wheelchair. And he has to listen to her all the time. She enjoys the life that he wanted to enjoy. I mean, it's like it's so funny the way he gets what he deserves in a manner of speaking. But then the other joke is that the kid, Brian, Black Lives Matter Brian,
Hmm.
he ends up getting all the rewards, and I heard somebody say like, the fuck, why did that guy win? It's like, because
Oh
it's the
yeah.
joke of the movie is that there is like, of course, the white kid that's a complete douchebag that happens into this shit on social media, of course he wins.
And he becomes a right-wing influence on or towards the end that's like honored by Marjorie Taylor Greene because he discovers you can make a lot of money doing that.
Oh my God.
So this is I think one of the most I wouldn't say it's the best film about conspiracy theory culture and where it comes from. There's a lot of films that do a good job with this. Um, there are some amazing books that really dive into this and how it's not really a product of the JFK assassination. during the 60s, and now it goes far back to, 19th century, and even like Puritanism and Calvinism. It's in our DNA.
Hmm.
But this is definitely one of the better ones, and it's one of the more and it does it in ways that are interesting and in ways that I'm still thinking about. Like the one aspect that I can't stop thinking about, and maybe this is him doing a Western trope, because this is a hybrid film. We have like it's little bit elements of horror and elements of the Western, where you have and I don't even really remember his name, but he's essentially the homeless guy is like
Oh, Lodge.
yeah, he's the equivalent of the dark stranger that has, ridden to town,
Yeah.
come to spread pestilence. He may or may not have given Joe COVID. They never ever confirm that.
No, no, but he definitely ends up with COVID, even though they don't actually ever say it, but he definitely ends up with COVID. And the
Clearly
first
has
time I saw the
COVID.
movie, I thought for the first time I saw the movie, I thought for sure he was going to die of COVID in that last scene.
There was part of me that wondered if like they were going to just pull the rug out from under the audience, and he would check the results of his test and says he's negative and he's just got like, old-fashioned influenza.
And the way that it deals with the pandemic, it's so great because very early in the movie, you have him pulling up outside the grocery store, and there's it's I can remember I can remember this so clearly in my own life. Like the store, there's like people lined up 6 feet apart outside waiting to go in, right? And take their turn. They're wearing masks, and the one older guy doesn't want to wear a mask, and there's a scuffle with the employee from the store that's at the door, and Joe gets involved, and there's all these little passive aggressive things that I remembered, again, from my own life, from observing whether they were directed at me or just in general. And all of this passive aggressive stuff, it just kind of adds to the pot that's boiling and will eventually explode with the Black Lives Matter protests that break out in Eddington. And it's so like this it reminds me a lot of I Was Afraid because it's a fucking comedy as well, but it's my kind of comedy. It's most people aren't going to laugh at this. So I'm putting it here. There's some really big funny things that will go almost unnoticed, but there's a lot of this little stuff and all this passive aggressive stuff, the conspiracy theories and the like, oh, look at this guy without the mask, and even just like all the people that are arguing to wear masks and then they're down under their nose all the time. Like,
Or the chin diapers.
just does such a great job of pointing out like every side was at fault. Everybody was just, oh my God. You look back on the time now, it just everything was so fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, here's one thing that I think the film gets right about, very much about that era, because it's an era that, it's fresh in the minds of our listeners, and us. And really, the pandemic was the first line of Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I think this film gets it because it was definitely bad. I mean, it was definitely the worst of times. I'm not gonna, mince words here, but there were things about it where people retreated inward that, I think do conjure up some kind of nostalgia, and that is kind of baked into this. I was curious, during the pandemic, what was your favorite pandemic era pastime that, you remember, that, you just sort of, routine you just kind of got into, that you kind of sort of look back on fondly?
So I was still working. on site because in the biorepository where I work, it was just like we had two shifts kind of that used to overlap, and they made it so we went in earlier. So it was me and my team went in really early and worked for just let's say 4 hours, and then left. And as soon as we left the building, the next shift were already there in their cars. They would then come in, right? We would wipe everything down, but I would be home by noon or like a little after, and I would lay on the couch with my cat and put on a movie and usually fall asleep and then wake up and take a shower and then go about whatever I do that evening. But it became this thing where it was like I was living 2 days every day because I would wake up, take a shower, go to work, come home, fall asleep, wake up, take a shower, and then, whatever, go for a walk, whatever we were doing at the time, eat dinner, watch a movie, go back to bed, repeat. And it just had a really cool rhythm. And I mean, obviously there was longing for social contact and for whatever, but things of the world that I like that I couldn't do. But overall, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
What about you?
Discovering 3 o'clock in the morning songs.
Mm.
And what's your favorite song to like put on at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're up? Because just like you, my times kind of went into a little bit of a tizzy. I had days where I was teaching, and then I would be kind of working, that like separate hours, and then like turning like things kind of got just sort of turned on its head. Then there'd be nights where like I'd be sleeping during the day and then like working at night,
Hmm.
or just stay up and like chill and like watch a movie from like 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was when I discovered this concept of 3 o'clock in the morning, best song, pour yourself like, pour yourself a drink, uh, and just put on, listen, and ha just rock out. And I think the one that was on the rotation the longest, and this was when I was teaching a class on Stanley Kubrick. I would teach it, then chill. The people would on the balconies at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whenever it was would applaud the first responders. Then my day would actually begin, and then yeah, end of the evening, put on Age of Consent by New Order
Ooh,
and dance like fucking crazy, pass out on the couch, wake up at like 8 a.m., start my day.
rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I like the 3 a.m. I've long had a thing I call 2 a.m. I call 2 a.m. corridors, but there's a lot of music to me that is 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. The one the shit that comes immediately to mind because it's not really anymore so much, but it was very much associated with that for a long period of time, pre-pandemic even, is Twilight Singer's album Powder Burns. It
Hmm.
just Oh man. Yeah, it's a 2 a.m. album, and I don't listen to it very often now, um, because I'm usually not up at 2 a.m. listening to music. So, but actually, Steely Dan, Deacon Blues is another one, but that's one where like I got to be in my cups. Like that's a definite. I've had a few, and it's maybe a little bit of a forlorn night or something, and I'll have two fingers of whiskey,
Yeah.
put on Deacon Blues.
It was the same thing. That was pandemic was like I realized by the time June rolled around that 2 fingers of whiskey, I was abusing that privilege and had to pull back.
Yeah, it was easy to do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
especially with uncertainty ahead of you. And that's the thing about this movie. And so here's the thing,
It's
like
all baked into this movie so
it's
well.
it is, and so there's a great moment I picked that I wanted to illustrate something, and it's so that scene outside the grocery store at the beginning that we were just talking about. So Joe gets out of his sheriff's cruiser and he tells the guy at the door, "Let him in. You can't handle him like that. Let him in." So he lets the old man in without the mask. Joe takes off his mask and he walks to the back of the line. Immediately, one of the guys in line takes off his mask. right? So like just it's like he did it, I'm gonna do it. And then the woman that is like two people behind where Joe goes to the back of the line, she's still wearing her mask, but she uses hand sanitizer when she sees Joe's not wearing a mask. And it's so funny because it shows and I was a mask person. Like my thing was I'm not saying they're right that we should wear them, but my thing was it look, okay, the law can't make you hold the door open for an old lady walking into an establishment behind you. You're walking into, Sears Roebuck. Well, if you are, I mean, it's probably 20 years ago, but you're walking into McDonald's, I don't know, wherever you're walking into, and you open the door and there's an old woman coming up behind you. You don't have to hold the door for that woman. You could just, let it shut, whatever. But if you don't, you're kind of an asshole. Nobody can make you do it, but you're kind of an asshole. And I kind of, with masks, I just felt, look, we don't know. So just even if you don't care, there's people out there with, I mean, I have compromised lungs. There's people out there with compromised immune system shit. And I would just look at it as like, I'm going to wear the mask even though I'm uncomfortable and I fucking hate it because I just don't want to cause anybody harm. And I don't know if this will, but nobody can tell me either way. So why not just be cautious, right?
Yeah, same thing. And I'd been a smoker for several years. I'd quit 2 years before the pandemic, so I was like, it's probably not the greatest idea in the world for me to get this thing. And remember, this was back way before there was a vaccine, and we didn't really know a whole lot about
Right.
what it was we were dealing with. 2 years after the pandemic, eventually I got COVID, and it was I was just laid up for like a week, and that was
Right.
that was pretty much it. But it's like, we didn't really know, and there was like that uncertainty, and which is another thing that this film plays with. And yeah, it was like same as it's just like all in all, just like was like, I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and but seeing these like little things like that, the woman using the hand sanitizer, it points out that people are sheep, but I don't even I don't mean that even in a mean or derogatory way. When you have something like a worldwide pandemic, that even though this has happened before, and we've had epidemiologists telling our leaders for decades. So this isn't Republican or Democrat. This isn't Trump. This isn't Biden. This is going back decades. I forget the one gentleman's name. It's something Silver had been telling presidents for decades. This is going to happen. We need to do something to like be ready for this. And every president's just like, I'm kicking that can down the road. I don't get not. It's not going to happen on my watch. And so my point being, we we are sheep because we don't know how to handle it, and we elect people to govern us. But the big joke of modern society is that we're so many generations after anybody in office ever had to do anything really to govern us that they don't know how. People don't get elected into offices generally. There are exceptions that know they don't want to govern. They just want the position so they can, whatever, they can have the payroll, they can make a name for themselves, they can, leave office and do consulting or lecture circuit or whatever. But and another visual joke, this is represented in the movie where it actually culminates with the town's new mayor Joe being an invalid, right? Like he can't lead, he can't
Yeah,
do anything, he can't even take a shit by himself.
and I think the film also gets this right is because people are just so fragmented and so alienated, disassociated with each other. And at the same time, they have information overload of information that is poor quality as
Yes.
well. Then what ends up happening, is that to make sense of the world, they aggressively go after conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like, and just that, and that just goes across the board in this film. And it's one of the things I think the film gets right. And I don't want to, look, here's the thing. I mean, like, I definitely wouldn't make this film and the first Matrix film a double feature. That's ludicrous. But the the Matrix, the first Matrix, I think in some ways prepped modern society for the thought process that Eddington would try to pick apart. You know,
Okay,
in
I
some
buy
ways,
that.
that are interesting, and other ways that are not so interesting. But you know, it all in all, I think, most of the targeting and most of the way the film depicts the thought process, I think, is spot on.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And man, there's so much to unpack here. It and again, like I want to again stress like what we're talking about here is that like it's not picking a side. And even here's another illustration. So the first viewing I had was the Thursday that it opened, right? And there was a pretty decent number of people in the theater. And I was there with Kirsten and my father. And I I don't know. I don't know why my father went. I think it had to do with there's like a slug line for this movie that's like the first truly modern Western. It's like a pull quote from somebody. I agree with that 100%. Like this, there's so much of this that just
Oh, it's a Western for sure.
it's 100%. And I get like a lot of times those kind of statements are really like inflammatory or like just kind of like not accurate. But I feel like that is exactly what this is, the first truly modern Western. And,
Exactly.
and so we're in the theater and there's a couple turns in this movie. And the first turn is where things escalate because of George Floyd. And the sheriff is out, basically campaigning with his deputy, Michael, who is black. And there's three cops. There's the sheriff, Joaquin Phoenix. There's Guy, who is white, and there's Michael, who's black. And so Sheriff Joe and Michael are out campaigning in his truck, and they turn a corner, and there's a bunch of people assembled protesting. I mean, it's kind of that like, what are you rebelling against? What do you got? Like
Yeah.
the sloganeering going on is everything from like this is stolen land, like it just becomes a catch-all, right?
And they just automatically think that, Michael's just going to jump ship and like
Yeah,
join them. And it's like, and he's just like, seriously, are we really doing this?
like when the girl goes up to him and she's just like beside herself that he's not siding with them, which then conversely, like Guy, the other cop, is constantly like kind of asking him to explain Michael to explain things that are going on because of George Floyd. Michael's like, "What do you? I don't know. Why do you think I have the answers?" Or like Joe keeps saying, "Like, are you okay? Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." Um, but that first protest, it's smaller than the one later, but where that little white chick is just going on and she's in Michael's face and telling this black police officer that he should be on their side, and it is hysterical. And I was laughing so fucking hard. And from a couple seats over, like the other side, we were like at the far right, so like I think same row or the one right behind us, but to the left, I heard somebody say, Black lives do matter. And I realized they thought I was laughing at the idea that Black lives matter. Now, that set a weird tone because I'm like, I, I feel like it's pretty obvious that this is pointing out how retarded all these white people are. Like they're really not, like they're yelling at Sheriff Joe, and it's like he's. I mean, we only have a thin slice of his life, but all the things that he is, he's not a racist cop from what we see, right? So the fact that they're screaming at him is it's hysterical. It's like, what are you doing?
It just reminds me of this quote from this film critic named Jonathan Rosenbaum, where he says American lynch mobs never die. They just grow more savage with their self-righteousness.
Oh, I mean, that's like it's so perfect. And eventually, like the atmosphere in the theater chilled, and the guy figured out that it was funny. And then, like for most of the rest of the movie, we were both the two people that were laughing uproariously. But it is there's these like punchlines here, and it's just basically because it's Astor going, look how fucking stupid everybody is. Like everything, like oh my god, we're all just Buffalo throwing ourselves over these cliffs because we don't know what to do with ourselves. We're afraid and we're confined, and the uncertainty is driving people absolutely mad, and they want to act out. And so then when you get the next riot scene, which is directly related to the video footage from the beginning of the movie with Sheriff Joe trying to remove the drunk from Mayor Garcia's bar, and the drunk actually gets violent, and Joe and him end up kind of like cartwheeling around a little bit, and then the mayor's son, who is a complete douchebag, by the way. I mean, just I
Oh yeah,
cheered a little bit inside when the when the bullet took him. I mean, it's terrible, but I was
it's
like, I don't
terrible,
know.
but I wasn't sad to see him leave the
I,
film.
but even that is Aster commenting, like he knows that that's how we feel, and it's like we're now complicit. Like, oh my god,
I think my favorite scene in the film is just because it's so densely layered. He's saying a lot of things using so little. This is after he this is after he does the campaign video inside the Mexican restaurant where he's talking about how he's talking about how Ted uh, sexually assaulted his wife, and then the wife makes a, you know, public renouncement of this charge. And then he shows up at this birthday party in the backyard with Katy Perry's Firework
oh,
playing, and he goes to just keeps turning it down. And then Ted just bitch slaps him in front of
twice,
everybody twice. It's like, again, it's a scene that, is it's one of those beautiful scenes where it's like on the surface level, not a whole lot happens. Beneath the surface, a
yeah.
lot happens.
Yes. And the very next scene, it's funny because you've got that firework or Fourth of July, whatever that Katy Perry song is, cranked, right? And there it's like he's turning it down, Ted's turning it up, and then Ted slaps him twice, and Sheriff Joe walks off, completely defeated. And as he leaves, right after he leaves, as he's driving, so the Katy Perry's gone, and the soundtrack, the score becomes this really dissonant, tense ambience, and it lets you know, okay, like there's a turn coming. And so then a turn comes with Joe murdering both the sheriff, I mean both the mayor and his son.
Not before driving off in like the fucking tree branch tricks. It takes out all of his campaign advertisements.
Oh my god. uh yeah, I really like that. You nailed it. That Katy Perry scene, as I think of it in my head, there's so much going on. And Phoenix is, man, he is just one of the best fucking actors living and working today because, oh, his performance is just so multifaceted and layered and nuanced. I mean, in that scene especially. Um, I want to talk a little bit about like the outright comedic elements. And this goes from like, there's some really like punchline shit, like with the kid Brian telling, sitting at a dinner table, right? Telling his parents about dismantling whiteness. And behind him, so like at the dinner table, the wall behind the dinner table, there was an open gun closet with assault rifles just
Oh yeah.
hanging there. And then he's going on and on about like we have to dismantle whiteness and this and that. And there's like a pause for a beat, and then his father just goes, "Are you fucking retarded? You're white." Oh my god. Oh, I mean, but so you go from stuff like that, or like there is a like a Looney Tunes level. I'm sure there's more that I didn't pick up, but the one where Joe is running from the Antifa shooters, and
Yeah.
he lands on the roof of something and falls through and crashes through a fucking case that's labeled Geronimo's Bones.
Oh yeah. No, that was like
It's from a
and then the
cartoon.
gun and then he just the gun store is just like how he arms himself after that. And by the way, I don't think those guys were because remember they were flying a plane with like the tech company's logo. I don't think they actually were Antifa. I think that these guys realized that the people in this town are so fucking stupid
Yes.
that, if we just claim that we're this, their conspiratorial minds will just go into overdrive so much that we can get away with so much heinous shit.
Yes, you're exactly right. And I say Antifa is it's not Antifa. The first time I saw it, I didn't catch the logo on the plane. I caught it, but I didn't make the connection. And that rang as a joke because there's like a scene early on where here's the thing too though. So there's a scene early on where they're showing this video of these shooters on a roof in a different, I forget where it is, and they're firing on cops down on the street, right? And then he's like, this is gonna come here, and it's like, and Joe is like, what are you stupid? Like, why? Like, he doesn't say it, but it's like, why would they come here, right? And then, but then they do, which is in and of itself fucking hysterical because it's just like, okay, I guess. But then in second viewing, it's like, oh, so wait, these guys are tied to the tech company. That's the whole movie is like Garcia's trying to get this tech company to build here. He's trying to get the permits for it, and people are against it. But I'm after the explosion that takes out Guy, Sheriff Joe picks up the phone of one of the shooters, and it has that footage on it, but from the perspective of the shooters. So I'm like, so what is like? I'm not sure if they're actually making the claim that the corporations are actually stirring the pot all over the place during this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, on the one hand, I was thinking that might be the case. On the other hand, I was thinking if that's what they're if that's what they're doing, what Ari Aster's doing, then it's maybe one of the more clumsy
Yeah,
approach because it's kind of one of those things that's sort of, you know, somewhat obvious to anyone with half a brain, and who like pays attention. So it's like, on the one hand, it's like, I guess I did think that, but then I was like, no, there has to be more to it than just that. Because if it's just like, if he's just leaving us hanging on that one particular point with not much else behind it, then Ari Aster's getting lazy.
I think I mean, well, I know there's a shit ton of things that I still haven't picked up, and I look forward to owning this movie and watching it and like being able to pause certain things. Um, but I definitely think there's something there because there. I'm wondering if it's supposed to be like the tech company actually went and plucked them as terrorists to go do their bidding in this time. I mean, it's just I don't know if it's clumsy or if I just haven't seen all the sides of the square yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting the sense though that a lot of the people who claim this film is like you'll love it or you'll hate it that are on the, I hate it side, they they feel that they want Ari Aster to be punching at
Something.
what at something very specific that they would like him to be punching at, and because he's not doing it, that in their mind equals bad.
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. And I think there is a purpose ambiguity there for this exact, and the whole scene where they introduce the idea, they show the plane and then we go in the plane and we track up from the back of the plane so you can see people sitting there. You can see signs. There's a sign that says something like white is the virus, here comes the cure. blah blah blah, and then it stops on a guy, and we only see the back of his head, but his he's literally like I think he's got like a balaclava like rolled up or rolled down, and he's smoking a cigarette as if he's like the bad guy in like Inspector Gadget or something, right? He's like sitting there plotting. It's so preposterous. The music is it cues exactly that idea, like dun dun dun. Here comes the bad guys, and then we fade directly into this blackness, and then pull out, and it's all of the black screens on Instagram that was like a whatever you want to call it, virtue. I mean, I know derogatorily they call it virtue signaling or whatever, but it was like I'm posting this on this day because I want to make the statement that Black Lives Matter, which I
Oh,
had
right, right,
I,
right. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
had
I
no
remember
I
that.
have no problem with Black Lives Matter, but also like because they do, but also he's showing you the nooks and crannies of like yeah, but as with everything with people, it's imperfect because people fucked it up, right? And they use it as an excuse to carry out some other agenda. And I mean, oh man, there's just so much
Yeah.
here.
These people, they in the film, it's like I think it's showing people who they wanted to do something because they were afraid that if they didn't, that they would appear late to the party.
Yeah.
And then they do it without like any thought behind it whatsoever. And then they just sort of get swept up in things that are just sort of completely beyond their control.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then it ultimately sweeps Joe up. But like, Joe is just he's bumbling from one thing to another, and then and then gets COVID.
Gets COVID and it has this, the shootout at the end is extremely intense.
Oh yeah. Like
Um,
it almost felt like it belonged in a different movie, but it just managed to stay on the right side of things with me.
yes, agree. But there is like a very big tonal shift at that point, and even something I picked up this time. And at first I thought, I no, I think I'm reading things that aren't there. But then I was like, oh no, I'm right. So that scene, so he comes, it's in the trailer. He comes bursting out of Gunther's gun shop, right? And with this like fucking, I don't know, it's like the Predator gun that Bill
Yeah.
Duke has, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just firing everywhere. That runs dry. He pulls out, I think it's an AR-15 or M16, and he's, stalking through the streets of Eddington. Asthma inhaler's empty. He's like, he's wheezing, and he takes a guy out, and then it's like him there, and he's turning from one direction to another. And the camera is, so you're still seeing him, but it has this pivot, and it seems like, I'm like, oh, is this like, this looks like first person shooters, or not first person, but some of those first person shooters, which I don't play, but you can either first person it, or you can like layer it so that you're looking at the back of your character,
It's
right?
like hardcore Henry.
It does this, and it does this with the way it rotates around him. And then when the kid comes out and shoots the guy that stabs Joe, if you watch the way that kid, so the kid also in the trailer, he's filming with his phone and shooting at this guy, this, right? The way the guy dies, the way the bullets hit him, it's exactly from a video game. Like
Yeah.
first it gets his shoulder and he does this like really jerky movement. Then I think it's a headshot, whatever. But I'm like, oh my God, he's literally commenting on the fact that like, and it's like he's doing that thing. I think it's the same with the terrorists too. Like, of course this wouldn't happen. This isn't real, but it is because it's funny. Oh my God. Uh, what about the mayor's ad campaign?
Oh yeah.
They're watching that. He's like, where's he
Oh,
getting all
to
these black people? What is this, the Jeffersons? And there's a scene of him playing the piano in the middle of the road.
he's playing the piano. Oh my God, yes. And like, and what should we and like campaign? I like the way he essentially gets discovered by the reservation officers. Campaign slogan ideas. The way he wrote it matches the graffiti.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, I knew something about the board, but I was so obsessed with trying to read all of the individual
Same.
entries. So I totally missed that, but yeah, okay, that makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
no, it's like it's a handwriting match, and that's why he goes out and takes a picture of the tires, and
Oh
it's
my God.
it's so weird because it's like in some respects, I kind of felt like this was like a Coen Brothers film on crack.
Yes, good description.
Yeah.
Lots of No Country for Old Men vibes at times.
Oh, lots of No Country for Old Men vibes, a lot of Fargo vibes,
Yeah.
a lot of Barton Fink vibes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah, no. I could see why Martin Scorsese, has picked Eddington as like one of his favorite films of the year so far,
Oh, did he?
but
That's cool.
I get the sense that I think I'm gonna like this film more the more and more I watch it. I can't guarantee that 100%. I think where does this film, I mean, because you've seen every single Ari Aster film ever made, where does this film land for you?
This is his best work by far, in my opinion. I mean, I I love Hereditary, so I can't. I think that's probably still my favorite, but I don't know, man. This second viewing. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to own. But I was afraid. I've only seen it one time. I want to watch it again, but it's a little prohibitive with its length and whatnot. And I will watch it again. Um, but this, like, I'm just in fucking awe. The layering, the levels of, oh, just there's just so much here. So I think this is probably, in my opinion, his best, and it might even be my favorite now. What do you think?
Um, I still think my favorite is the director's cut of Midsummer.
Okay.
Uh, and I would say this Eddington and Hereditary are battling it out with each other for second place. And I
Okay.
think, like if I when I watch Eddington again, I think that could determine who delivers a knockout punch. And then on the bottom is Beau is Afraid, which I did not dislike. Fourth place is not equal dislike. I just I didn't find it as strong as any of the other films, and it's like I haven't had any desire to go back to that world.
I could totally see that. And it's like Midsummer for me it was an unbelievable theatrical experience. Like it's one of the best. Uh, but it was so emotionally damaging. I've not gone back and revisited it yet. I will eventually. I think it's an amazing film, but it just like it's just a lot. And I'm like, when am I going to be emotionally like ready? And it's also very long. I've never seen the director's cut. It's very long, which it's not a problem, but it also like Kirsten's never going to want to watch that movie again. So I'm going to have to find like a close to 3 hour block where I can sit down and watch it. And also it's harder for me to like when I was younger, I could turn a movie on, kill the lights, smoke a little weed, and sit there and not move for the entirety of the movie. It didn't matter how long. I just sit there and
Mm.
absorb the movie. It's harder to do that now. So viewing movies like Midsommar or Beau is Afraid will suffer. Eddington, I feel like I could pause it and go back to it, but Midsommar and Beau is Afraid and Hereditary, I can make it through no problem. But those are movies where once I started, I don't really want to interrupt it a lot, you know?
I watched Midsummer not the first time, but like at a later time at Seattle Cinerama after having consumed an edible.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, whoa, what an experience that was. Do I regret it? Not really. Was it a wise decision? Not really, but it was a fun one.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, when I saw it, it was like Anthony and I, we took, our ladies on opening night at an AMC in, on PCH in Torrance. And I mean, I'll never forget, I was high as fuck. And it, I mean, it was packed. I think it was sold out theater. And, I mean, that movie, again, he does this thing. There's so many things Aster does with his movies where, in the hands of anybody else, I just don't think it would work. Like with Midsommar, that when you see the elaborate nature of the death contraption for the parents at the beginning, it would be laughable from any other filmmaker. And with him, it is just absolutely horrendous and disturbing. And I mean, I remember thinking like, Jesus Christ, we're not even like to the other country yet. And I feel like somebody's been emotionally devastating, already.
One character that I think seems to kind of, I think some people describe as the weakest link, and I see what they're talking about is Emma Stone's character, in that, like, it was. I, let me ask you this question because I'm not entirely sure where I stand on it. Say, if you take her character out of the equation, um, would the movie have been just as good, or was it something that it needed?
I think it needed it. I think she's very important in it's that whole, I was talking about Joe is so meek at home, right? I mean, he's got I thought her performance was great. It's just she's not in it a lot, but she's key in my opinion because he he just kowtows to her and she is eventually what sends him like over the edge kind of. I mean, there's multiple things, but that's definitely one of them. And like it's the same thing with Austin is it Austin Butler's
Yeah,
character
Austin Butler, yeah.
where like you could almost be like, why is this here too? And I think there's an element of comedy there too, where Astor was like, well, we got to throw in the weird like QAnon pedophile conspiracy theorist because it's part of 2020, and he works it in, and it is almost superfluous, but it works because it works for her. And I mean, she leaves him trapped, and the thing is, he thinks as he starts to be bold with the people of the town, he thinks when he makes these completely erroneous, like he's lying about things in public to try and gain, an advantage over the mayor. He thinks she's just going to be like the people in town and start to like accept it, and she's not. So she's obviously not okay, but she takes a stand and basically puts him in his place. She fucking leaves. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably right into a worse situation, but what do you think?
I think she's fine just the way it is. I don't think especially like how it pays off, with her like pregnant and behind him, like as he's running for office.
Yep.
And he's watching, and then Joe's watching it on YouTube, which like makes it all the better.
Yeah, and it's another callback to the beginning where not only does he get trapped with the mother that he's complaining about living with him at the beginning to Emma Stone's character Lou, but
And
he he
she's sleeping with the live-in nurse as well, which is like
oh
even
that is
better.
just like that's literally the cherry on the fucking sundae of his
Yeah.
discontent. But also the very first thing I think when the Pueblo the reservation police roll up on him and start telling him to wear the mask. I think he's watching or listening to something about like how do you convince your partner to have a baby if they don't want to have a baby.
Oh
So he
yeah.
wants a baby, she doesn't want one. Now here she's pregnant with this fucking uh I mean, oh man.
Yeah. It's like it's a Western with elements of horror, and throw in a little bit of a Ari Aster's version of the Book of Job in there with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, this is I don't know if this will be my favorite film of the year, but I find it hard to believe I'm going to see a film that I think is better. And I might. I hope I do. Not anything against this, not rooting against this movie, but like I definitely want great movies, and to get something that might give this a run for its money would be a great feeling. But as of right now, I'm just still in awe.
I'm 99.9% certain that I'll see a better movie before the end of next month, maybe. But
Hmm.
or well, maybe not that quickly, but for sure by the time October rolls around, I'll for sure have seen one. But I'm going to be thinking about this movie for quite a while, and I'm going to be thinking about it uh, in relation to not just Ari Aster's other films, but just like, other films that are topical and timely. I think in some ways good, some ways maybe not so good, but still, this film is going to have staying power.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And maybe not for everybody because it is hard to look at, right? I mean, it's holding a magnifying glass up to everything. Like I said, myself included. So, but oh man, I really enjoyed both of these theatrical experiences viewing it, and I can't wait to pick up a Blu-ray and just like I said, be able to kind of watch it more thoroughly. Like this is one I'll definitely listen to commentary on because
Sure.
I want to know certain things. But uh, closing thoughts.
Yeah. See this film. I think this is the movie of the summer. If Sinners was the film of the spring, then this is the movie of the summer. And yeah, one of the more in it's a modern Western for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Well, I was just reading. I forget who the poll quote was. Whoever said that, that it was spot on. So I can't take credit for it, but it was definitely spot on. Uh, that's Eddington, and this is the Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
And I'm John.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of a collection of desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.